medicinal plant like maca. You've got hundreds of compounds in the plant. They're all working on the body's biology in a variety of ways, more in a kind of a symphonic way, if you will.
Right.
So the difference between just having a drum and having a full symphony orchestra, that's really what you've got going on with maca. I think it's going to be many, many years before we get it all figured out how this works.
Now, with maca, one of the most common questions that I get, and I want you to really clear this up. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to hear truth today, so be prepared.
Oh, I am so on the spot here.
Chris doesn't hold back. Now, one of the biggest questions I get is this. When it comes to maca, somebody will call up and go, well, what kind of maca do I need? And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, I hear there's red maca, I hear there's purple maca, there's white maca, there's black maca. So how do I know which is which?
All the time.
So explain what, now pay attention everybody, because you're about to hear something amazing. What's the difference?
Okay, first of all, it is true that there's red, pink, yellow, orange, cream, black, green, blue, purple maca. They all grow in the same field. When you harvest, if let's say the room we're in, if maca were growing here and we harvested all the maca in this room, every one of those colors would be in that batch of maca that we pulled out of the ground, okay? Because that's how maca grows, in multiple colors.
Right.
There is nobody, let me repeat the word nobody, growing single-colored maca, you know. It is not the case. There's nobody selling single-colored maca. There's no such thing as, oh, you want our red maca, you want our green maca. In the United States, we call that marketing nonsense, all right? I want to differentiate my maca from yours. Yours comes from 14,000 feet in the Andes. Mine comes from 14,000 feet in the Andes, or 15,000 feet. They come from fields that are 10 miles away, whatever. You know, maybe I do a better job of drying it, or you do, but the fact is it's all the colors of the rainbow in the field. But I need something to say, like, well, I've got the blue maca, he's only got the pink maca. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. They're not separating it out up there. They're not doing any of that stuff. And when you take all that maca and you dry it, you know, it's funny. We use a lot of sophisticated instrumentation to figure things out. You know how they determine when maca is fully dry?
How?
When you can't make a thumbnail impression in it.
Because it's so hard.
They're not using like a hydrometer or something. They're just going, okay, hard enough now. When it's dry, it all looks the same. It all has the same kind of amber color. You look at this maca right here, right now. This is red, yellow, blue, green, black, purple, pink, cream maca. And as you can see, it just kind of looks like a sort of a beige oatmeal.
Right.
Because that's how it is. So when a company tells you that they're the specialists in the name a color, then you know that they are blowing smoke at you. And see, here's the sad thing. If a company is dishonest about that, well, then what else are they being dishonest about? Because you can't assume that a person who doesn't tell the truth only does it once. It's usually a chronic habit. So if you're telling me, or somebody's telling me, that they're only doing the purple maca, what else are they misleading me about?
All right, let me throw this out
Was that
here.
strong enough?
Oh, well, you're about to get stronger.
Okay.
Because I got another question to back that
Okay.
up. All right, now, this is what I was told until you had corrected me, which I was glad you did, because deep inside of me, I'm a little angry. Not with you, I'm angry, and you'll know why.
Okay.
With maca, I've always heard the stories of, well, which grade of maca?
Yeah.
Now, and in a way, it's kind of like a white lie, where you see some truth, but the problem is when you have the buying public out there, and they go into a store and they buy something that says maca, and they take it home, and then I get a phone call, well, that didn't work. Okay, explain, is there a grade system on maca versus what in the world are these people buying out there that's not working?
Well, okay, there's no official grading system. Now, as you know, I do a lot of almost all my medicinal plant exploration for an ingredient company that people have never heard of. It's called NatureX.
Right.
And we work with a bunch of growers up in the Peruvian Andes. If they have 3 tons of dried maca, they'll wind up shipping 2, because in that maca will be maca that maybe has a little fungus on it, that gets thrown out. Maca that's broken and maybe it's spoiled, that gets thrown out. So if you will, those people are hand sorting it to make sure that every maca root is whole and doesn't have something wrong on it, okay? But in terms of, oh, there's a grade A or B or C maca, that's just not true at all.
Okay.
There's no truth to that. You want to do your due diligence and make sure that you're not selling anything that is maybe bad or spoiled. Just as you wouldn't put out an apple that, say, was partially spoiled in a grocery store. But the notion that these companies are buying, this grade or that grade, that's not true. I think what does happen is that there is some cutting of maca. I think that in some cases you get maca that maybe has had something added to it, maybe a rice flour or something like that, that is less expensive. And so people use that, they use really good, pure, organic maca, and they get a strong effect, and then they buy something else, and, well, gee, this isn't working on me anymore. It is that there's qualitatively something wrong with that product.
Okay, now you've heard the truth, and I know for the consumer it's very difficult. So is the consumer technically left with trial and error going into a store to buy maca?
Well, you and I were discussing this earlier. The sad answer to that is if you don't work in the business, it's very hard to know.
Right.
Like if let's say you or I go into a home furnishing store and we buy drinking glasses. Do you honestly know, or do I honestly know, between brands what constitutes better made glass? I don't, actually. That's the truth. I mean, I'd like to believe that I do because I've been drinking out of glasses my whole life, but I don't really. Whereas a glass expert could say, well, you see, this is tempered glass and this obviously isn't, and you go, okay. Yeah. It's hard for people to know. I mean, there is powdered maca out there, but then there's also maca in tablets and capsules. Right. There are 2 trademarked ingredients that I like and know and trust. One is called Maca Pure, and the other is called Maca True. Both are clinically studied. We know that both work for energy, stamina, endurance, improvement of hormonal function, restoring libido. There's a very interesting study on Maca True with people who are in fact antidepressant victims, who have lost their sex drive as a result of antidepressants, which as a class tend to destroy sex drive. Right. Who got their sex drive back, got their mojo back, if you will, as a result of taking Maca True. Once you, and these are ingredients. It's like saying Intel inside in a computer. Right. You look on a label, and if it says Maca Pure or Maca True, then you know you've got one of those. Other than that, it's kind of hard to tell. That's the truth of the matter. If people are going to buy powdered maca, then I would say that you look for certified organic maca. There are going to be inspections and certifications involved with producing that product. So you have some assurance that you're not getting something that maybe was grown with toxic agricultural chemicals, which you don't want in your body. Other than that, you kind of have to be an insider. Well,
you've heard it from the medicine hunter, Chris Killam. And remember, maca is fantastic for energy, great for adrenal health. Has probably, I would say, the most absorbable form of calcium in nature. I've heard it's even better than milk.
Great calcium, yeah, and iron.
And iron. And for a lot of you ladies out there with PMS problems, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, low sex drive, maca. If you've had a partial hysterectomy, a complete hysterectomy, Maca can really bring in hormonal balance very quickly, and you'll feel like $1,000,000. We'll be right back.